contributions. Quality economic growth is a strategic goal of the city as reflected in this budget. The city of Minden is a beautiful place to live, work, and raise a family. With the adoption of this budget, the administration is affirming its commitment to the city of Minden and its citizens. Thank you for your support. Terry O. Gardner, Mayor. The floor is now open for any comments or questions from the audience. Mr. Joe, is there anybody outside that might have any questions? Would you check, please, sir?
No one, sir.
No one, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions? None being asked. The floor is now open for any comments or questions from the council.
Did you put the crossing guards in the budget?
Yes, ma'am, we'll have to do a budget. No, ma'am.
Okay.
We'll have to do a budget amendment after this budget is approved.
Well, the last time we met, we had time to put the crossing guards back in the budget. So I don't understand why we need to amend the budget when they simply could have been put in the budget.
We will amend the budget at a later date, and the crossing guards will be in there. I assure you of that. Are there any other
That's
comments?
not the only issue in there, so we've got the issue of you hiring a full-time employee. And you didn't change that. You decided that you were gonna leave it in.
That's correct. Did you read the email I sent you today explaining that?
I beg your pardon?
Did you read the email I sent you today showing you the comparison?
Yeah, I saw where you were begging us to please
No.
pass the budget.
Don't use the word
I read the
beg.
last line, it said, please pass the budget. Because you know you haven't done the right thing. So that's why you say, please pass the budget.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Great. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, so when you look at the job description, the position that you've added to the budget, when you look at the job description for the city clerk, it says that the city clerk would be responsible for the collection of occupational license tax. So,
That's correct.
why do we need that other person to collect occupational taxes?
The city clerk is also responsible for managing the warehouse. The city clerk is also responsible for collections of water bills. The city clerk is also responsible for the IT department.
Okay, so this is the position, this is the job description for that position. And in this job description, it does not say anywhere about collecting occupational taxes. In fact, it says for the essential duties and responsibilities, it just says as described in the summary section of this job description. And as I look through the other job descriptions, this is the only job description where you don't have duties and responsibilities outlined.
Okay, you is not the past administration. That's the job description from the past administration. If you would like to change the job description, you are the legislative part, so you change it and we will vote on it. How's that?
Well, you had wanted to go get this job description for us when we asked you about it in the workshop.
Absolutely. And we're rehashing the same stuff we did the other day, so is there any other comments?
Okay, that was my comment. Now, don't raise your voice and we're not gonna do that in here.
We're sure not.
Not
because
today.
Not tonight, we're sure not. I'm not gonna do that tonight.
No, we're not. We agree on that.
Are there any other comments? That being said, I'm going to call for question. No, I'm not. There's no further questions or comments regarding the proposed 2021 budget for the City of Minden. I now declare the public hearing closed and the regular session of the City Council meeting open. We'll get back to the budget at a later time. The audit presentation for the fiscal year 2019. Would you come forward, Ms. Cole, and give us that, please, ma'am?
Let's go up. Good evening, council, mayor, city officials. I'm Christine Cole, representing the certified public accounting firm of Wise Martin & Cole LLC. We were engaged to perform the financial audit for the city of Minden for the year ended September 30th of 2019. The report has been submitted to the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office in Baton Rouge. It was submitted on June 22nd. Tonight, I'm here to provide some highlights of the city's financial performance related to the year ended September 30th of 2019, and also discuss the current findings mentioned in the report. Our overall opinion on the financial statements as presented, if you have a copy of the report, our opinion can be found on page 1 through 4. As stated in the report, an audit includes examining on a test basis evidence supporting the amounts and the disclosures that are in the financial statements that are in your report. We are issuing an audit opinion on the primary government for the city of Minden. Our opinion on the financials was unqualified, and an unqualified opinion means that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with United States generally accepted accounting principles. There's a section in the report that starts on page 5 that's called Management's Discussion and Analysis. And this section, I always, every year, recommend that if someone is interested in reading the report, this is a good section to look at. It's the one area that provides comparative numbers. So you'll find 2018 and 2019 balances to give you some type of a perspective if you're looking at different financial highlights. From that, I'd like to just touch on some of the revenues and the expenses that the city incurred during September 30th of 2019. On page 9 of that MD&A section, you'll see a table, and from that table I'm going to highlight there's two types of activities that are presented. There's governmental activities, which for the city, that's going to account for the general government, public safety, the expenses for streets, economic development, parks, and recreation. The business type activities, that's where the city accounts for mainly the water, sewer, electrical charges and expenses related to those activities. And then as a whole, you'll see a total column for primary government. Focusing on the governmental activities, the total revenues for the governmental activities for 2019 were $10.8 million, which is $3.4 million less than 2018's revenues of $14.1 million. The decrease is largely due to the fact that in 19 you did not receive as much in airport grant funding, and there was also a decrease in sales tax revenues in 2019. Sales taxes is one of the major sources of funding of the governmental activities. It's 57% of the governmental revenues of the city. Sales taxes were actually down by over $523,000 compared to 2018. The overall expenses of the governmental activities increased approximately $429,000. The top three areas of expenses were public safety, being about 38%, general government being about 24%, and parks and recreation costing about 17% of the total cost of those governmental activities. The governmental activities actually reported a deficit of about $3.5 million, and that deficit was funded by about $4 million of transfers of monies from the utility fund or the water sewer activities. Now, speaking about the business type activities or the water fund, this is where, as I said, the city charges a fee to its customers to help cover the cost of the water, sewer, and electrical system. The revenues in the business activities reported an increase over last year of about $1.5 million. Included, part of this increase is a capital grant of about $800,000, as well as an additional $1.2 million coming from the SWEPCO lawsuit settlement and power cost adjustments. And the total cost to operate the utility systems was $19.4 million, slightly less than last year's cost of $20.3 million. The net surplus in the business activities was about $5.4 million. And again, as I said, the business activities actually transferred about $4 million of its surplus to cover the governmental activities deficit. These are just highlights. There are more details and explanations found in this section as well as the rest of the report. I'm going to talk a little bit about net position. The net position is the difference between what the city owns and what it owes. And so for 2019, net position increased by about $1.8 million as a whole as a result of the operations. Last year's net position increased by $3.2 million. However, there was a prior period adjustment to reflect a liability that accounting standards now requires municipalities and all governments to recognize in their financials. One of those is when you have retirees and you provide health insurance, there is actually a value of the potential liability to continue providing those benefits to those persons, and it's called other post-employment benefits. And right now, the city actually recognizes in its report each year a liability for this other post-employment benefit. And for 2019, that liability is estimated to be about $12.8 million. In 2018, that liability was $10.3 million, so it's increased. The pension obligation is another example of a liability that we have to report, that we have to calculate to give the city an idea of the cost of providing retirement to retirees through the mandated systems. Right now, there's a $13.7 million liability recorded, and in the prior year, it was $13.3 million. So it also has increased slightly. Part of the audit, we also not only issue an opinion on the financials, but we also do tests of controls and compliance with certain laws. And as a result of that test work, if there are any findings in a given report in that year, in the following year, those findings have to be revisited to see if they've been resolved. So in 2018, there were prior year findings reported. These are addressed on page 112 of your report. There were 5 findings reported in 2018, and of the 5 findings, only 1 was considered resolved in 2019. The other 4 were not considered resolved and are being included, again, in the current year findings for the 2019 audit. These findings in detail, there are 5 findings actually listed for 2019, and these can be found on pages 107 through 110 of the report. The city has provided a response to these findings, and that can be found on pages 113 through 114. Now, just let me elaborate a little bit on the city's response. Before a report can be submitted, then the legislative auditor requests that the potential corrective action be included to whether the city agrees or disagrees with the finding, and then what steps are going to be taken to try to address these findings so that they're not repeated and they do get resolved for the next year. Now, after the city's response on page 114, there's a separate set of procedures, there's a separate report. We were also engaged to perform what they call agreed upon procedures in addition to the audit. And this is something that legislative auditor identified specific areas for us to look at. And this is not just specific to the city of Minden. All governments and political subdivisions that have an audit have been required to do these agreed upon procedures. And there's certain things that they've outlined that they want us to look for. And so we have issued a report, and that report's found right after the audit report, after page 114. So a copy of that report is included. It identifies the things that we were specifically told to look for and whether there were any exceptions. If there are exceptions, those two have to be responded to before that report's submitted. So if you get a chance to look at that as you're reading through, it lists what we looked at, what we were required to look at, and what we found. And again, any exceptions, you'll see a notation exception, and then the city's response should be either attached or below it. I have covered some general highlights of the performance of the city as of September 30th, 2019. I didn't go into a lot of detail. We are almost a year out from the report. I wanted to make myself available to, if there were any questions regarding these financials, the findings, I am available to discuss those and answer any questions that you have. As always, if you have any questions that I can't answer, I'll let you know, and I'll be glad to get that answer for you. On behalf of our firm, we want to thank the former city clerk, Michael Fleur, and his department and all the city officials and the council and the mayor for working with us as we completed this engagement. They did provide assistance and cooperation with all the many things that we asked to look at. So Mayor, Council, I present this report to you for your approval. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Does anybody have a question for her?
Christina, I guess I do have a question. I imagine this is my 5th time to listen that you're doing the presentation for the audit. And just from reading the material, listening that you speak, year over year, our position basically is not getting any better, is it? And I know you can't answer that in a general question. I know you can't.
I think there are several, and I say this every time, there are several things that you do want to look at when it comes to the position of the city. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, I did want to bring up, which is, I guess, a little deviation from what I normally do. I focus more on the numbers side of it. And so there are also other things, obviously, that non-financial factors that affect how well the city's doing. To focus a little bit on the financial side of it, one of the things I would like to bring out, which is let me just say it. I make mention every year about the transfers of money between the different types of activities of the city. And that's just something that I want the city to actually be mindful of and aware of. Because when I look at that, I look at a business type, well, I look at your water, your sewer, and your electrical. Obviously, cities are going to go through charging customers a certain amount, and there's going to be costs related to operating the systems. But the thing that I noticed that I notice every year is, of the surpluses that system does generate, you may want to, you are transferring a large portion of those surpluses to cover the costs of the governmental activities. And that's fine, but just as a recommendation, maybe some things to think about would be the system, if it's able to sustain itself, that's good, but in light of the emergencies that maybe happen and the breaks that may happen, or the needs of that public works department to have those funds set aside for these large emergencies, I know it's just maybe just being mindful of those types of scenarios. I bring up the big liabilities, these big numbers for these expenses for OPEB and retirees, but the whole point of bringing those out is to make the city aware it's not just today. It's what are the costs that we may have in the future that we may need to fund. So going back to that report, over the last 2 years, when it comes to surpluses that the utility system has generated, in 2019, it generated a $5.3 million surplus, or 5.4, and transferred $4 million to the general fund to cover its deficit. So it left some surpluses in the system, which is a good thing, because in 2018, it only had about a $3 million surplus, and it transferred almost another $4 million to the general fund. And if that's going to end up being the cost of trying to maintain those departments in that general fund, then at least you are aware of that. But it is something that that I know the mayor probably considers when the city clerk has helped present the budget. You know, those are things that kind of get my attention, because I always worry about whether that fund's getting depleted and what's being thought about as far as maintaining, the future projected costs. Because it just takes, y'all know, it takes us one little project that could cost a significant amount of money, and then you're looking at your reserves and what's available. I'm just speaking off the cuff.
Well, let me add one thing, then I'll be finished with this. Just to digest what you just said, we need to do a much better job on budgeting and forecasting and future expenses.
I think that everybody taking seriously the expenses that it costs to run the city, the different departments, and then being mindful of the revenues that are available to cover those costs, and being mindful of where that money is coming from. I know that every year the budget is presented, and it's presented as a balanced budget, and there are surpluses. Again, you did have a surplus overall as a whole, and that is a good sign. And I'm only bringing out little things that came to my attention as I was preparing for the presentation. Think about the things that I've mentioned in the past, and you always ask the question, are we better off, or are we?
And I know you really can't give a definitive answer on that.
Because it's based on so many different perspectives.
Yeah, we all have our opinions, and they differ quite a bit.
But overall, I think when you look at the numbers, I think I've covered my statement. Again, overall as a whole, the city did have a net surplus as a whole. But I guess as y'all are considering the upcoming budget as well, you know, it's those types of balances that are presented is you know, just watching to make sure that the expenses are, I'm always wanting to keep the expenses in line with those revenues that are available, because you don't want to get into a habit of spending your accumulated resources. And planning is always a good thing to keep in mind. Planning for those emergencies and these potential liabilities that right now are not funded. There's no money set aside to, if all this money, if it was due, where would that come from? You're not required to have a trust set up to fund it, but it is there so that you're aware this is going to cost the city going forward.
Can you give me the percentages again for those top 3 expenses, public, general government, and parks and recreation?
I can. I can even tell you where I got those numbers from. If you'll look at page 9 of that management's discussion and analysis, what I did was take each department and divided it by the total expenses. So the percentages that I gave you were, hold on. %, public safety. General government, 24%. Parks and recreation, 17%. And if you look at page 9,
Okay.
you'll see the different departments and the dollar values. And that's just those totals divided by the total expense of $14.3 million.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions of Ms. Cole? With no more questions, I appreciate you coming over here and doing that for us. I appreciate the hard work that y'all do in our audit. And I do want to give you my condolences for the loss of one of y'all's partners today, Carlos Martin.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, on the audit presentation for the fiscal year 2018-2019, the accounting firm of Wise Martin & Co. presented their findings on September the 30th. Are there any more questions or discussion that you want to talk about that before we take a vote? I'm going to call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nobody.
One.
Oh,
You have to have a motion.
Like I said, I'm still a little numb tonight. I need a motion. If you don't mind, would you make the motion, Mr. Bradford, instead of laughing?
No, I won't.
Okay.
Mr. Edwards, do you want to, since you first voted?
I can't hear what now?
Do you want to make the motion since you were the first one to vote, and I'll second it?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move to accept the 2018-19 audit for the fiscal year ending September the 30th, 2019, as presented by the accounting firm of Wise, Martin & Co.
And then I'll second it.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is B. And that's to adopt the minutes of the council regular session held on August the 3rd, 2020.
So moved.
Okay. Is there any more discussion?
Second.
No.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Bloxham. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey,
We had,
I was a nay.
and
who was the yay?
Mr. Edwards was a yes? Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Beard was a yes, and Ms. Bloxham was a yes. Motion carries. Item C. On the agenda is personnel, the police department new hire. Chief Cropper, would you like to come up, please, sir?
Mr. Mayor and council members, I'd like to introduce Caitlin Harrison. She has no law enforcement background, but she does have a medical background. She's a certified nursing assistant. Been in the medical field for how long?
7 years.
7 years. Some personal things happened in her life, and she chose to make a career change. She's got a lot of people skills, and I'm looking forward to having her aboard.
Okay. There any discussion?
Well, Ms. Catherine, I spoke to several people that knew you, and you come highly recommended. Don't let us down.
Is there,
Are you Katie Cortez?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
is there any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Upon the recommendation of Police Chief Steve Cropper, I move to confirm Caitlin Harrison as police officer in the Minden Police Department, subject to passing all applicable tests.
The motion is made by Ms. Bloxham,
Second.
seconded by Wayne Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Harrison. We're looking forward to have you working for the city of Minden.
Thank you.
You didn't ask for nays, because I didn't vote aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you interview her? Or okay, you didn't interview her, so I apologize. So we have one nay, and that's Ms. Walker. Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Next is D on the agenda. The Minden Planning Commission appointment. Is Mr. Cooley in here? Oh, there you are. I'm sorry, you're right in front of me. Would you like to talk about your candidate, please, sir? Mr. Michael Davis.
Mr. Michael Davis is in District
A.
B. Hey.
Brent, come to the mic, please, because it's not picking it up.
Mr. Davis will be replacing Mr. Bobby Baker, whose term expired back in July. And Mr. Baker was actually in District B, so we're trying to move towards fulfilling slots for each district. And I guess I should say that Mr. Davis came recommended by Mr. Edwards.
And I also visited with Mr. Davis, and he is ready to go to work. Do we have any other discussion or questions? Do I have a motion?
Upon the recommendation of building official Brent Cooley and Mayor Tara Gardner, I move to appoint Mr. Michael Davis to the Minden Planning Commission to replace Mr. Bobby Baker, whose term expired July of 2025.
Okay, we have a motion on the table by Wayne Edwards. Do we have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Bradford. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. And that motion passes unanimously. E, on your agenda is a final plat approval. We discussed this in the workshop. It's a lot split on property. It's part of it's split off. Part of it's a horse pasture, and the other part's going to be the guy's going to retain ownership to keep the billboard on there. Is there any discussion about this? There's no discussion. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the final plat for the lot split of property belonging to Annette Igo located at the south end of Jackson Street as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bradford, seconded by Wayne Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. F is a final plat approval for a lot split. This is a corner lot on the corner of US Highway 80 in Deerfield. It's got the gentleman that stands every morning that greets everybody as they go down Highway 80. This is owned by Greg Stanley Heating and Air, Best Price Heating and Air, and he's asked to split that. We talked about this in the workshop. Are there any questions or discussions? With that being said, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the final plat for the lot split of property belonging to Best Price Heating and Air located US Highway 80 and Deerfield Boulevard as presented.
Motion made by Wayne Edwards. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ms. Bloxham. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next thing on our agenda is G. It's for the selection of the official journal. The city of Minden must select an official journal for advertisement of publications and legal matters. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Wanda gave us a copy of Article 43, 145, RS 1. At the bottom it says, a newspaper published in the parish of the municipal corporation which meets the requirements of a newspaper as defined in RS 43, 140. We never saw RS 43, 140. We need to see that before we can make a decision on this. All you're giving us is municipalities to select newspaper located within their boundaries.
Did you research that and look it up?
Did I what?
Did you research it and look it up?
That's not my job. That's her job. If she's gonna give a part of it, she should give us all of it. Don't you think so?
Mr. Yocum, would you like to expand on that for us, please, sir?
Jesus Christ.
Where's he at? I've been talking to him a lot this past couple of days.
There we go. RS 140 of Title 43 goes through and specifies the qualifications of what meets a newspaper. Basically, it has to be published at least once a week. It can't be primarily used for entertainment or advertising purposes like a Thrifty Nickel or the Inquirer wouldn't count. But the only paper in our municipality that I know of that's published, period, is Minden Press Herald, but it's definitely the only one that meets the qualification of a newspaper under Title 43. I gave a copy of 145. Ms. Wanda was just giving y'all what I asked for her to give you, because that pretty much lets us know that we don't have any options except Minden Press Herald under the law, because it's the only, quote, newspaper as defined in Title 43 that is printed within our municipality.
And do you have a copy of 43, 140?
No, sir, but I could Google it real quick for you if you.
Well, we need a copy of that.
No, we don't.
You gonna tell me what I need? You may not.
I talked to the
I
mayor.
know what I need.
I spoke to the mayor.
Okay, I know what I need.
Okay, are there any more discussions? No more discussions? Do I have a motion?
I move to name the Minden Press Herald as the official journal of the city of Minden, Louisiana.
Motion made by Ms. Bloxham, seconded by? Seconded by Mr. Beard. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Did you get that, Ms.?
3, 4, and 2 again.
Yes, ma'am. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is H. adopt the resolution adopting the city amended budget for 2020-21 budget. Are there any discussions? With no discussions, do I have a motion?
I move to adopt a resolution adopting City of Minden 2020-2021 budget as presented.
We have a motion by,
I'd like to amend that motion.
yes, sir.
I ask that this budget be tabled until such time the discrepancies and the problems identified could go into discussion, and we approve this budget at a later date this month.
Mr. Edwards, since he made the beginning of it, let me see if I can get a second, and then we can do a substitute motion at the end, and then we'll vote on that, and that would kill the first one. Will that be okay with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table by Mr.
Mayor.
I just want to clarify what, you're wanting this motion to be voted on prior to the amendment?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, just a second, okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we've got a motion on the table by Keith Beard. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have a second by Ms. Bloxham? Now, do your,
The amended motion that we place this budget on hold to a later date this month so that the discrepancies identified in the budget can be corrected.
okay, we have a secondary motion by Mr. Wayne Edwards. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Walker. So let's have a vote on that. All in favor to discuss it later this month?
Aye.
We're gonna table it to this month.
Yeah, just.
You said-
Did you not understand what he said?
I didn't understand
Thank
what
you,
you
sir.
said.
Okay, so we have three yeses on the table. All opposed?
No.
Aye.
Okay. So the first one dies and the second one passes. Is to adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of Minden, state of Louisiana, to authorize the continuation of a special tax in the downtown development district. The city of Minden make an application to the State Bond Commission in connection therewithin and providing for other matters in connection there. And talked about this the other day. It's in the back. It goes from, it's going up a little bit because some of the buildings downtown, individuals have bought them and restored them, so they cost a little more. So it's going to go from 1.9 and it's going to go up 5%, so it's going to be 2%. So we just need to adopt this resolution so we can move forward on the vote.
So move.
Motion made by Wayne Edwards, seconded by
But let me, go ahead.
seconded by Pam Bloxham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ms. Walker, did you vote? I didn't hear you, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't vote.
Okay,
Because did you ask for discussion on this?
Forgot.
okay, so is,
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make a correction. You said it was going up 5%. It's not going up 5%, it's going up 0.5%.
well.
I mean, it's a difference.
I'm sorry,
Yeah. So it's not going up 5%.
I'm glad you read that and called me out on that. I appreciate that.
In time.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's get on with the vote. Now, would you like to cast your vote? Did everybody vote except for?
voted, yes.
Yeah, I thought we did. Would you like to cast your vote?
Aye.
Aye, okay. It passes unanimously. J. Is the Minden Airport improvements. And this is to adopt a resolution requesting that the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development Division of Aviation provide funds required to complete the airport improvements at the Minden Airport specifically as described in the Capital Improvements Program application for the state financial assistance dated August 21, 2020. Does anybody have any questions or discussions for Steve Burdo? He's in the audience to answer those for you. There are no questions or discussions, so do I have a motion?
I move to adopt a resolution requesting that the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development Division of Aviation provide funds required to complete the airport improvements at the Minden Airport, specifically as described in the Capital Improvement Program application for state financial assistance dated August 21, 2020, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion made by Ms. Bloxham and seconded by Mr. Wayne Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Did you vote, Ms. Walker? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Aye.
Okay. Aye, Ms. Walker. You're trying to trick me, aren't you?
No.
Okay. It passes unanimously. Okay, K on your agenda is to adopt ordinance number 1112, levying the tax mill for the year 2020, and that ties back into downtown. Any discussion on that? No discussion. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt ordinance number 1112 as presented, levying taxes of 5.4 mills as general alimony tax on all taxable property located in the city of Minden, Louisiana for the year 2020. Those taxable property designated as part of downtown Minden Development District will be assessed an additional 2 mills, making a total of 7.46 mills on those properties identified in the area.
We have a motion made by Wayne Edwards. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Bloxham. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next on your agenda is L. This is to award the bid number 4-20 sewer jetter. We talked about that in the budget workshop. If we only had one bid on that, that bid is attached in there. And you see the price that came in under budget. Do we have any discussion on that? Being no discussion, do I have a motion?
I move to award bid number 4-20 sewer jetter to the lowest qualified bidder meeting all requirements.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Blossom, seconded by Wayne Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
Did everybody vote? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is M, to adopt the revisions made to the City of Minden Employee Handbook. Do we have any discussion or questions on that?
Yeah, when we discussed this at the workshop, you were asked to not put this on the agenda because we were still going over some things, but you put it on the agenda anyway, and you knew that we were not finished with it, finished with the discussions of the employee manual.
I asked.
And you asked and we said no. And you put it on this agenda anyway.
Now when I finish my sentence.
Okay.
I asked 3 times. And for the past 16 months, you have wanted it on the agenda, so here it is.
You know, and it's just, I figured that's what you would say.
I'm glad you figured
However,
it.
I have been asking for 16 months. Now, when we talked about it at the workshop, we were not finished with it. I don't have the policy from the police department, the policy and procedures that I asked the chief for. You know, now if he brought it today, I mean, that's all fine and well, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. You want to give it to me now, and we go into executive session, and I go through and read it, and then we come back out and take a vote? But we asked you to not put it on the agenda. And then as I was going through, you know, all these revisions, when we were working on this employee manual, you know, this right here, this was the last copy we received, but when I went through and I tagged all these pages, you know, it just appears that you had wanted to make changes to what you wanted changes made to. Now, it was some things that you know, this is not what was in the last set of revisions back in, when was that, March? I mean, no, it wasn't March, maybe March. So this is not the last set of revisions, but I mean, actually February. So let me just point out a few things, because this is not what we said on some of these things.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if you didn't think I was gonna go through and read it or what, but no, I'm not gonna just vote on this right here. When we were looking at, for example, when you look at the selection and hiring process on page 23, we talked about, I know the economic developer and the Main Street developer should be in here because they are appointed by the council, but it's not in here. So that's one.
Was that one of the changes that you asked for?
Yeah.
Was it red line?
Well, this is not the red line.
Oh, that's not the red line book. Okay, thank you.
Okay. But, you know, I do have that, but its copies in here because I actually took all of them and looked at them from the times that
Well, I'm
we
glad
met.
you looked at it this time.
You know, but you put it on here anyway, because now you want to make it seem as though I'm not ready for it, but you went through and you changed the revisions that we talked about, and now you want to give it to us to vote on?
The revision.
I have a substitute motion
The
to
revision.
table this until we can finish discussing it and also going over some things with the department heads and make sure we have clarity before we vote on it.
We also met with the department head.
Okay, but you met with them. I would like to meet with them, just like I sat down with them once before, then I'm very capable of sitting down with them again.
You know, I sit here,
You do, and I sit here too. I sit here and listen to you and put up with you, so you go ahead and say what you want to say. Now,
Thank you.
I offer my substitute motion.
thank you for allowing me to finish my sentence. I sit here while you rudely interrupt me 3 times. So I put it on the agenda so we could vote on it. All the changes that you asked for are in there.
No, they're not.
No.
They're not.
On the promotions, we talked the other day where it says the pay increase to be administratively determined by the department head and the mayor with council approval.
What page are you on?
And here you changed it to department head, the mayor, and with said documentation provided to the council.
If I'm not mistaken.
That's on page 35.
Thank you. If I'm
You
not,
changed it. We didn't tell you to change it. We still wanted the council approval. Matter of fact, I asked, could we take the mayor out and do you remember that?
I do remember that, but at the end of the day,
You changed it.
at the end of the day,
That's what you did. at the end.
we agreed to
No.
make with council notification. Is that not correct?
I thought that was a recommendation the chief made.
Yeah, I did too.
Everybody liked it.
Yeah.
No,
I-
no,
yeah,
no,
that's what I was
no,
thinking.
no.
Oh, no, 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 no?
No.
I'm sorry. Chief, you didn't
You
make.
are, you are
didn't-
that, you are
didn't-
that. You're right, you are that. You do what else you're gonna,
not-
do whatever you're gonna do. Hit your hammer.
Do not
I can hit my fist just like you hit your hammer.
You just
Do not
Do not what?
make a record.
I can
say
do
that
what,
I'm
do not
sorry.
what? Do
Do
not
not
what?
say that
I'm
I'm
calling
sorry.
you a lie.
He needs to carry his.
So that's what I'm calling you.
I'm asking him to leave.
Well, you don't ask me to leave a meeting.
I can ask you to leave.
Well, I'm not.
Well, then behave yourself.
I'm doing what I do. Listen here.
Behave yourself.
And then here you
Behave
change this.
yourself.
I am behaving
Behave
myself.
yourself.
You don't talk to me like, who you think you are?
I'm the mayor.
You're not my dad or anything. You must be got me mixed up with your dad or somebody.
No, I'm not the
You
dad.
tell, or your son or something. You got me mixed up.
Please, both of y'all. Let's act like them. Come on.
I'm telling you what he did.
You need to be careful.
I don't need to do, don't tell me what I need to do.
Do not.
I am a
ever-
grown
I
man.
understand.
Well, you must don't.
And a grown man should not sit on the city council in that seat and call somebody sorry. That's not
That's
professional,
what
that's
you
not
said.
acceptable.
You said, I'm sorry. I told you are. So what's the difference?
Well, then-
If that's what you wanna
give me-
be, that's
give me
what
your-
you are.
Give me your definition of that, Mr.
You the
Clark.
one said, I'm sorry.
Give me your definition.
Can we just get back on track?
Did he not say, did he not say, I'm sorry?
Mayor, can we just get back on track? Let's vote on the manual.
And I say,
Okay, so
yeah.
we're gonna, I have a motion from Mr. Edwards to vote on it?
No,
No.
no,
Oh,
No,
you didn't make the motion?
no.
No, it's no
I'm not
motion.
through talking about it.
What?
You changed the other part where it said part-time
I'm sorry, I thought you.
compensation. You changed that. You changed the temporary compensation. Why are you changing this and we didn't say any of that in the meeting?
We changed it according to what y'all said you wanted changed. And you can twist that and flip it any way you want to, but that's what Ms. Pittman took in the notes, and that's what she put down.
Are you agreeing with that, Ms. Pitt? That we,
I thought we finally had it ready.
are you
to vote.
agreeing with what this says right here?
Let her
Let's
speak.
just vote to table it again.
Jesus Christ.
Do you have any comment about anything, Ms.
You
Biloxi?
gotta get a vote.
Yeah, Mayor, I want to go on record, and I've mentioned this several times before, but I don't believe that this employee manual ought to be put before the council to vote on until it's authorized by a labor attorney to assure us that the manual is in compliance with all state and federal labor laws. Otherwise, we're just opening ourselves up for lawsuits.
I suggested that 16 months ago,
I know you did.
and we didn't get anywhere with it, but I agree with you. So I'm glad that you put that on record, that it needs to go to a labor attorney. I'm glad I did it 16 months ago, but to appease Ms. Walker, that's what we've been doing the last 16 months, but I'm glad you put it on record that it needs to get professional.
Let me go on record and say, no, you didn't do that 16 months ago because it just came before us in February. So you have not had 16 months between February 26th and September 8th. That's not 16 months. Now, I asked for this 16 months ago, but it was not addressed until February 26th. Of sometime in February, so that's not a 16-month span that you asked for it to go before a labor attorney, so we just need to get the facts straight.
I recommended that there was a labor attorney and a firm that specialized in these handbooks that is employed by the Louisiana Municipal Association. And I brought his name to the table. But if you remember, you wasn't interested in that. And then a month or two ago, our city attorney made a suggestion that that wasn't his field and that he thought it should go. Who did you think it should go to?
There's a couple of names. There's
He didn't give a name.
Neil Irwin, Goldwing's Law Firm in Alexandria. I didn't give a specific name then. I just said I'd be happy to provide recommendations, and I knew two or three, but those are two or three that I have in mind.
But, you know, here's the thing, I'm not saying that you didn't make the recommendation that it go before a labor attorney. I'm just saying that you didn't do it 16 months ago because it didn't come to the workshop
Okay,
until,
16
it didn't
months,
come
5
to the
years.
workshop until February. Now, here's the thing, this is what I have an issue with. Now, you asked the acting city attorney about this, and he said this wasn't his specialty, but then you wanted to pile this on Mr. Minifield's plate and say, act like it was his fault why it wasn't done. And here he sits and says that it's not anything that the city attorney should handle. So I don't understand why something was good for one city attorney, it's not good for this one. So why can't he take a look at it? You pressured Mr. Minifield to look at it, so why can't he take a look at it?
And Mr. Minifield?
We don't talk to each other.
And I want to put this on record. If you want to solve everything, hire an HR person.
Exactly.
That's been we've been needing an HR person for how long? Before your administration, since you've been here.
We're trying
Nobody wants to, we don't address that. I haven't seen a job title, I hadn't seen it put in the paper that we're looking for an HR person.
As long
An
as we-
HR person can control all of this.
As long as we don't have the money in the city budget, we can't hire
You
one.
don't have it for these other
We
positions
don't
you're
have the money in
creating.
the budget for that, but we had the money in the
Yeah.
budget for some, come
Well,
on now,
create
you
these
took
other
the
positions.
crossing guards out the budget, but then you put a full-time position for somebody to go in there and work with economic development. Now, I'm just trying to figure out where your priorities are. What exactly do we have money for? It's for what you want.
Let me explain something to you. We didn't adopt the city budget. So therefore, I can't amend the city budget. So therefore, at the end of September, we don't have any school crossing guards because I can't amend the budget if we don't have a budget. Now,
But-
we can't, I'm talking, now, we can't hire a HR director because we don't have money in the budget for HR director. Now, we were gonna have money for HR director in the new budget, but we didn't approve that budget.
Well,
Now, we had money in the budget to hire economic developer, and I saved the city a ton of money by the individual I hired. And he's doing an outstanding job, and so what else were you referring to? that I
Okay, so
hired?
here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
The budget could have been changed before to include the security guards, the crossing guards, before we came to this meeting. So don't act like we're the reason why they may not be there, because you had an opportunity and you were asked at that workshop to add the crossing guards to the budget, and you just simply refused. And you were told, because when I leaned back and I asked Martha, you could have simply added the crossing guards to the budget, but you chose not to. And so now you want to sit in here and act like it's going to be our fault so you can twist it however. But you know what, Will, if you would go and post the video from the workshop like you do everything else, then people would see that in fact we asked you to not put this employee manual on the agenda. We asked you to put the crossing guards in the budget and you simply refused.
Well, let me tell you something that you simply don't understand.
Okay.
Do you
Can
mind
we
if I-
go ahead and table this or take a vote and do whatever it is we're gonna do so we can go?
We're going to, if it takes all night, you know.
Well, no, I won't be here all night. You might, but I won't be here all night.
So let me explain something. The budget is being laid out there for about 14 days for the public to look at. Now, the school crossing guards were not in that budget. So if you go to changing the budget, you have to go back to square one and represent the budget and have it viewed again by the public. Me and Mr. Edwards talked about that the other day.
Doesn't matter what you and Mr. Edwards talked about. You could have changed it then. And then the public would have had time to view it for 14 days. And we would have had an opportunity to vote on it tonight.
We just met the other day with Ms. Cole on it, and I couldn't change it. I can amend it.
You could have changed it.
No, I couldn't have changed it.
We
Well,
were
anyway,
told that you
let's-
could have changed it, but you did not.
Could he change it, Mr. Edwards?
So what now?
With the information you got from Ms. Cole and him, could it be changed?
Not till after you have the public hearing.
That's right, but it only takes 14 days.
But we can do it now.
We can do it now.
We couldn't do it before you had a public hearing
Could have
because
did it in the workshop.
yeah, it was presented to the public. Now we can change it. That's why I asked that we table it so we can go back to a workshop and make the corrections that need to be done.
But we're not on the budget, we're on the handbook. So, what about the handbook?
I made a substitute motion for the employee manual to be tabled.
Did we have a motion on the table to vote on it?
No.
Okay, so you're making us, how are you gonna make a substitute motion
Okay.
when there's not a motion on the table? I mean, I'm just wondering, you wanna clarify that for me?
If you don't get a motion, it fails.
Well, I've gotta have are you gonna make it, or what?
Why would I make a motion? Yeah, I make the motion.
Why would you make it?
I make the motion.
Okay,
I moved to table the city amending employee manual until a later date, until the next workshop.
Second.
okay. We have a motion made by Ms. Walker, and we have a seconded by,
Mr. Bradford.
thank you. So, all in favor on that?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Puppet.
Okay.
Was it 3-2?
Yes.
Yep.
Next on the agenda is N, and that's Chief Cropper.
Again, good evening. I do want to let you know that the day after we had that workshop, I did put a copy of that new policy in each of y'all's boxes upstairs. So you may not have had time to look, but they are there. Okay, for the month of July, we collected $8,819 in city fines, $160 to the crime lab, $715 to city court, $660 to the marshal's office, $960 to the indigent offender's office, $44 to the clerk's fund, $165 to the Ware Center, $32 to the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement, $265 to off-duty witness fees, $66 to the Court Case Management Information System, $80 to the Louisiana Traumatic Head and Spinal Cord Injury Trust Fund, $220 to the Judicial Building Fund, $8 to the Judicial Education Fund, totaling $12,194.
I move to accept the police report for July of 2020 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Bloxham, seconded by Wayne Edwards. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Did everybody vote? Did everybody vote? Ms. Walker, did you vote? I'm sorry? How did you vote? I couldn't hear you. Okay, thank you. Pardon me? I couldn't hear you, period. But thank you for your vote. Okay,
Thank y'all.
thank you. Do we have any comments from the audience? No comments from the audience. We'll have council. Yes, sir. Would you come up to the microphone and give us?
I have problems standing.
Okay, okay. Yes, sir. Could you give us?
I would just like to address the question to Pam.
Who? Oh, okay.
Pam. Why did you go along with the motion that was made about the handbook? Why did you?
I'm ready to get this passed into an attorney and so that we can implement it. And this is what's being used to hold up any movement for the city council, because there are members of the council who will not vote to move forward until we get this handbook addressed. So let's get it addressed so we can move on to other projects and maybe get some yay votes to move forward. That was why.
But would it be sensible that you would have the handbook the way you want it before you submit it to somebody else for approval?
We can't get that far, sir.
I mean, that's what you have in the workshop.
No. We've already had that workshop. And every correction that was addressed was made, and then it was presented to us last week. But it was ready prior to that. It was ready to be read and signed off on prior to last Thursday.
That's not true. Let me go on record and let me just respond to her comment. Now,
Is this going to be your council comment?
it could be part of it.
Okay. Well,
I'm responding.
Okay, well, go ahead and
to-
make your council comment and respond, and you can respond.
No, I'm gonna address that and then I'll make my comment.
Okay.
So that's not true, because all the corrections that we discussed are not in here. It's kind of like they were picked over, and they put in the ones that they wanted in here, or, that the mayor wanted in here, and it was given to us, for the workshop, but that's not true. Now, it would have made more sense, you asked Pam why she didn't vote to table it, but it just seemed logically to me that she would have voted to table it since she wants it to go to an attorney. So that means that it's not ready, she's not ready for it to be voted on, but yet she voted against tabling it. So logically, it would have been a yay vote to table it, but now, I'm done with that. Thank you for that observation. So my comment is to all of the city employees, the line crews, and everyone that worked so diligently during the storm, the power outage, to restore power to the city of Minden. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Mr. Bradford? I always like to pause and let him guess if I've got to know his last name.
That's all right, I forget yours all the time.
That's fine. I'd
I got
rather
another
like for you to.
one. I got another name for you. I've got a question. I don't know why the TV station not here tonight. Anytime we got a conflict, they're not here for the public to see this. And just like the workshop, it wasn't on YouTube. You just had the camera in there. And what is this? You just want to know what we're gonna do? And if we don't do what you want us to do, you don't put it on?
Mr. Bradford, Suddenlink we are broadcasting to Suddenlink right now. They just don't have someone sent out.
They what? Come up here, I can't hear you.
We are broadcasting to Suddenlink right now. They
You're doing it. You're doing it for Suddenlink.
They gave me the equipment to do so.
Okay.
And let me add to Mr. Bradford's comment. Now, we had the workshop, and it was not on YouTube, it was not on the Facebook page for the city of Minden. And also another observation is the last council meeting we had, that council meeting, I don't believe was on YouTube either. And what I've noticed is that as you guys or whoever monitors, I'm gonna say you, monitor the comments that are posted on the Facebook page, if it doesn't paint us in a negative light, then the video is removed. But anytime the African-American council members are painted in a bad light, then the comments they roll, you might have 100-200 comments. But because it wasn't anything negative towards the African-American council members for the last council meeting, that video miraculously stayed up 2.5, 3 days, and it was removed, and it has yet to be put back on the city Facebook page as of today.
Which video are you referring to?
I said the council meeting from last month.
It's not posted on Facebook, it's on YouTube.
Well, all the rest of them were on Facebook, but you took that one down, so I'm assuming that you're the person that monitors the site,
No, ma'am.
the Facebook. So who monitors the Facebook page for the city of Minden? I just asked you if you did it, you said no.
No, I say yes, I do monitor it. You were asking if I have removed the video from
No, I
Facebook.
asked you if you monitored it.
Okay, is this all of your
My
comments?
It's still part of my comment, I'm
Well,
talking to
Why are we
Will right now.
recording the workshops? Why are we even recording it?
We didn't record the last one because y'all asked me not to. I mean, I didn't mean to use the word y'all, but I was asked not
Who
to.
asked you not to? Because I did.
So do you want it back up there?
I mean, I'm just saying, we asked you not to. Who asked you not to record it?
No,
Who asked you not to record it? Because I didn't ask you not to record. Mr. Bradford, did you ask him not to record it?
Okay, so are you through with your comment?
It depends on if someone else says something that I might want to make a comment on.
I know. We'll just sit here and let you go on.
Well, come
Mr.
on.
Beard, I got a question.
No.
Are you still living in Mendon?
You have to talk to the
I
mayor to ask a
I
question.
just said what I had to say.
You have to talk to the mayor to ask a question.
Well,
That rule was made last
do
time.
you know if he still lives in Mendon?
I do.
Oh, well, I'm talking to you then.
He lives in Mendon. He lives over there on the corner. His house is for sale, but he's still, do you sleep there at night, Mr. Beard?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Last
you.
time I checked, it's none of your business, Mr. Bradford.
I know.
You don't
but
pay
I
my
can-
bills, and you're not my dad, and you don't have anything to do with me, so it's none of your
And
business.
I don't like you. And why did,
Sir, no, I have a right to speak. You don't tell me not to speak, sir.
see there? Now, why
got
did you
this man
say,
telling me not to speak.
why did you say I didn't like you? You racist?
Okay.
You're a
Okay.
racist.
Yeah, thank you.
Okey-dokey.
Thank you. You
Listen.
don't know me, Mr. Bradford.
You don't know me. That's the
Yeah, I
question.
do. I've got to know you very
Well,
well.
I think you do.
I would like to make a comment before everybody runs out of here, because I've not adjourned the meeting yet, but I'm going to talk for a second, if everybody doesn't mind. So y'all are leaving the meeting.
I'm gonna
Bye.
listen to this, because I might have a comment.
So, you're done with your comment.
I might.
So I would like to also thank the entire workforce, the city of Mendon. Everybody crossed over and went to other occupations during the storm. They worked long hours. They worked into the night. I'd also like to thank Boat for coming down here and helping us. We got our city restored in a very quick, timely fashion. And I think everybody did an outstanding job. We tried to keep all of our citizens informed. I think that's the reason that some of our phone calls were down. They were able to keep up with us on Facebook. Also, I would like to thank everybody for all the condolences and all the phone calls. Most everybody knows I lost my son on late Thursday afternoon, and we'll have the funeral this Saturday. So with that, I appreciate everybody, and meeting adjourned.